Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage.
Shine like a ray from the sun. There's something people look for but never can find.
All right, welcome back to Legend Makers podcast. This is like episode 31 or something, so I've been doing a lot of these, and this is the first time we're live. I'm here with Eddie Pietrzak here at Haddonfield Middle School in Haddonfield, New Jersey. How you doing, Eddie?
All right, Scott, thanks for having me.
Good to see you. I've been in this classroom before. It's excellent. I love this classroom.
This is an amazing space.
So you and I know each other. You're running the Drone Legends program. We've been down here before to watch you in action, watch some of the kids in action. I love your teaching style. So yeah, let's talk about Legend Maker podcast. So I do this for a reason. As you know, I don't come out of the education space, so I'm always enamored with teachers. I watch you guys, and since I've been running Drone Legends, I've got such a huge respect for what you do. And what we're trying to accomplish here is I want other teachers to be able to hear from their peers, watch what's going on. All too often, there's burnout, there's a lot of this going on. It's great to see, because my personal experience with you guys, and not just you, but everybody that I've talked to is, I always hear this burnout, I always hear there's this and that, yet every time you guys are amazing. When I go visit classrooms, you guys are energized and your students love you guys and so I'm like, this is what I want people to see. So, well, good. So introduce yourself, man.
I'm Eddie Pietrzak, middle school STEM teacher in Haddonfield, New Jersey. And pretty much how it started was I had the opportunity to rewrite the STEM curriculum. And I wanted something that was very future focused, that the kids would be excited about, that very few schools in the area were doing. And I knew I wanted to teach coding and programming. And then I started seeing all these news stories for drones, and I found Drone Legends. And then I was so excited when I realized how local you were.
Yeah, that's right. We're right here. This is great. I mean, we've got so many people around the country and around the world. It's great to have it like back in my backyard. So cool. Tell me how you got into teaching. Like, what started you? Give me your background.
Yep. So I think I was about 10 years old, went down to the boardwalk and with my parents, and there was a magic shop. And I walked in there and got my first magic trick and started performing for people on the boardwalk. And I thought that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And then college came around, and I wanted a career where I could use my performance skills. And I thought teaching would be really cool to every day get to perform and create an environment where my audience / students feel joy and wonder and excitement. So I've always had that educational philosophy when I got into teaching, that I was going to make this a space where people want to be and not dread.
That is such a great observation. You know, I never thought of it that way. I was a performer too. Like, I sang in bands.
Oh, okay.
You know, I had the eyeliner and the hair.
And the long hair.
But you're right. I love getting up in front of a room full of, whether it's kids, or we were just talking about a workshop that I did with seniors.
Right.
It was the same thing. It felt the same way. You are performing.
Yeah.
Like, you are on stage, right? And it's exciting because you get the audience, your students, in with you, right? So I never thought of it that way. But like, for those that might, you know, there's a lot of people that have that itch to perform, but there might not be the avenue for them to do it. So maybe they want to think teaching. That's
exactly it. And I do a keynote for educators. And the past couple summers, I was in Connecticut and Arkansas. And we talked about, a big part of it was being a teacher is very much like being a magician. So there's planning involved, where I have to plan my show, plan my lessons. And then there's the performance aspect. But more importantly, the question I always ask myself before I do a lesson is, as a magician, I go, would I want to be in the audience at my own show? Like, would I want to see this routine? And I think teachers have to think about their lessons that way. Like, would you be willing to sit through 60 minutes of this material? And bringing it back to Drone Legends, it's a definite yes, right? Yeah. That's a no-brainer. Because we're playing and we're learning and we're feeling that joy.
It's amazing. So you put yourself in the role of the observer or the participant. Let's call it the participant.
Think about if you were a student.
Much more interactive. Such a cool thing. So did you know So you always want to be. I love I love your magic.
Yeah.
Right. And I promise if you do a magic trick, I won't pick the 13.
All right.
I promise. I swear to you.
The
I'm never
13 of
living that
diamonds
down.
he picked.
I'm never living that down. It was one of those things you put me on the spot on like 13. I don't know. Yeah, I'm never living that one down. That was good. So when you were young and wanted to be a magician, so you still perform,
Yep.
and I've watched you in class. You blend magic into your like interaction with the kids. So, for example, when I was here the last time and you were talking about the flight dynamics of the drone, throttle, yaw, pitch, roll, in order to reinforce those concepts, you used a magic trick with cards to indicate this is throttle, this is yaw, this is pitching, this is rolling. That is so cool. Like, tell me more about like the magic integration into your classroom, because I think that's something that's not, I don't know who else is doing that.
So I believe a huge aspect in education is figuring out how to get the kids to do memory retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a book called Make It Stick.
Yeah.
And it talked about memory retrieval.
Yep, yep.
And if we don't reach back and grab our memories, that's when we forget them. And we have to practice, okay, how do we get the kids to go home and talk about what they did in school versus when the parent says, what'd you do today? And the kid says, I don't know, or nothing.
Right.
That's like a missed opportunity right there. So in my mind, by integrating the magic into the lessons, that's going to be more exciting to tell the parent.
To go home and
Yeah, like what'd you do today? Oh, Mr. Pietrzak took these 4 cards and he turned them into throttle and yaw. And then hopefully the parent says, oh, what's throttle? What's yaw? And now the kid is repeating the definitions and remembering, and it's making these long-term memories.
Awesome. I'm hoping this doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
This is loud. Do you hear it? All right. I think we should be fine. And it's just the noise in here. We're good.
Yep.
That's cool. So so you got started teaching because you thought that was a great way to get up in front of people. But what keeps you teaching? I mean, in other words, did you grow up thinking you wanted to be a teacher? Like, how old were you when you thought teacher?
I think high school, I pretty much knew that I wanted my path to be in a space where I could feel like I was delivering that joy and using innovation in the education space. And I knew that magic could be a part of that. What was the question before that too?
I was thinking about, had you always wondered what keeps you going? In other words, so now you're in here, and your class is great, by the way. You're in like the old art room, but now it's like the technology lab.
Yep.
And you've got the drones over here, and you've got all kinds of. When we came in, you were doing Mars rovers.
Mars rovers, a whole Mars theme.
Whole theme, and you're actually going to turn this into a escape room and part of it.
So I won a grant that I wrote through Toshiba. My idea is always in the back of my mind. I always remember going to Disney or Universal Studios and waiting in line. And waiting in line could be considered equivalent to sitting through a boring lesson, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, you don't want to be there. And I love what Universal and Disney does with the interaction. So there's video screens, and there's a colonel that comes on, and he's like, "Oh, guys, I have a mission for you today." And I wanted to create something that made the kids feel like this was more than just a lesson. Like, this is a mission. Like, this is important. So I always had this idea to turn my classroom into an interactive escape room where the puzzles were based off our curriculum and what we're learning. So I wrote that up, and I won that grant this year. The deadline
and what grant is that?
This is for all the grades, 6th to 8th.
And the grant is the
Oh,
Toshiba?
the grant is the Toshiba STEM grant. And very excited to get that. And right now I'm working with my graphic designer, and the kids are actually using their STEM skills to develop the puzzles that we're going to be integrating. My future vision for it is that each grade, because I teach all 6th, all 7th, all 8th, the 8th graders will be creating the escape room for the 7th graders because they'll know what they learned, and the 7th graders will be creating for the 6th graders. So that's the plan, that's the vision, but June 15th, I'm hoping.
June 15th, this has to be
That's
done?
it, yeah. So I'm very excited.
And then so that'll be the summer, you'll have that done by June 15th?
By June 15th.
When do you guys get out of class?
June 19th, we're finished. So that'll give the kids a week to experience
Enjoy
it
it.
quickly, and then it'll still be here next.
They'll come back in the
next
fall.
Yep, in the fall.
And they'll get to really
Yeah.
enjoy it.
So that's one, going back to your question with how to stay energized and
yeah.
excited about teaching is taking risks. So I love being in a school district that allows me to take risks. And I love that if I have an idea, a lot of the times I'll have that conversation with the students. I'll say, this is our ultimate goal. This is what we need to learn.
Yeah.
This is how I'm thinking about teaching all of you. What do you guys think about that? Does anyone have any ideas? And as soon as I pitch that to them,
They light up.
they light up and they're engaged because, one, I think it's about building relationships. So when I'm asking them their opinion on things, they're like, oh, like I have a part, like I have a say in this. And not all ideas are good,
Yeah.
but we can listen to all ideas.
Sure.
And I learned so much from them. A lot of times at the end of class, I didn't get a chance to do it today because we were running short on time, but we'll do our reflection. And if there's any extra time, I always say to the kids, hey, score me. Like, what'd you think of that lesson? Like 1 to 5. And sometimes they'll type that in the reflection that they submit if they don't want to share it out loud. But the kids are brutally honest,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
sometimes they'll be like, I give it a 1. Like we didn't move around enough.
Really?
And I go, that's great feedback.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to think about how I can incorporate movement in that specific lesson.
Cool. And when we were waiting for you guys to wrap up, you were doing this. Don't know if you can see it. There's the wheel up here.
Yes,
I don't know
that
if you
is
can-
the wheel of mystery.
That's the wheel of mystery. Let's see if we can.
And when I
pan
say
over
that, the kids are supposed to go, ooh.
Ooh, it's the mystery wheel. So what's on the mystery wheel? Tell me what happens with the mystery wheel.
So the mystery wheel is the most exciting thing I think about this class. And that's another thing that keeps me fresh and excited because I get to watch the mystery wheel. I forget, I originally got this idea, Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. Ron Clark, when I was in school to become a teacher, the first book I ever picked up was Ron Clark's book.
And what book is that?
So it,
Is the one with Teach Your Hair on Fire? No, it's not that one. Is it?
no. It's
Okay,
the name of
it's a
that is
Ron Clark
escaping
book.
me.
We'll look it
but
up.
it's Ron Clark's first book. And the reason he wrote that book, and I'm hoping I get this story correct, Ron, is he won Teacher of the Year, teacher in New York, and he turned around a really rough class. And he got Teacher of the Year. He went on Oprah.
I've heard of him in some of my other podcasts. Others have mentioned him.
Yes.
So what we'll do is, this is cool. So tell the story, but we're
Yep.
going to find the book and link to it
Awesome.
in the show notes. That way
Yes.
other people can go read it.
And Oprah told him, you should write a book.
Yeah.
And the way Ron tells
And
it
when Oprah tells you
at
to
his
write a
school,
book,
when
you write
Oprah tells you to write a book, you write a book. So he wrote that book and he took that money and built his school in Atlanta, Georgia.
So cool.
And they made a movie about him too. Matthew Perry plays Ron
Oh,
Clark.
really?
Yep, which is an excellent movie also.
Check that out.
So, but yeah, I got the opportunity to go down, and their classrooms have almost stadium seating, where teachers from all around the country come and watch the lessons as they're being taught. Well, Ron Clark has a wheel. So when I can't remember if it was written in the book or not, or where it came up, but that wheel has been an integral part of my classroom management, and I use the wheel and Class Dojo. Those are my two forces in here because when you think about a class filled with joy, it can easily get out of control if you don't have classroom management. Especially even with the drones. The drones are super fun.
Yeah.
But yet you still need strong management skills with the
100%,
kids.
yeah.
So Class Dojo, they get points. That's our class economy. So we call them Dojo Bucks or Mr. P Bucks. And the numbers that they land on the wheel when they do something really special, they get to spin the wheel, and it's a huge deal, but they'll either get points for their dojo account, or they get to play Deal or No Deal, which a lot of these kids never saw that show, so I always have to show them a clip, but they love playing Deal or No Deal. And the other favorite thing is I have one called Call Home. And Call Home is a little tricky if they land on that space. So I tell them straight up, I say, if you land on that space, and I think you're an all-star, I will pick up that phone and call whoever you want me to call on speaker. We stop class.
No way.
We go over there and I tell the mom or dad or grandma and grandpa everything I feel about that student.
That's amazing.
It's always positive.
Yeah, right.
And I always have to tell the guardian right away that they're on speaker because
sure.
one time I think I had a parent go like, oh crap, what they do now?
Right. Hey, the first thing you say is,
you're on speaker.
Mr. Pietrzak, and you're on speaker.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
But
like when your buddy calls you in the car with a bunch of people. The first thing you say is, you're on speaker.
You're on speaker. So if there is a student, I'll tell them, like, I only call if I really feel like you've been an all-star. So there have been a couple times where the student lands on that, and I go, why don't you respin, and we're gonna work on these things.
We'll work on the call
And
home.
I have a
Yeah.
conversation with the student after. I ask them, do you know why, we didn't do it today? And they can rattle off 10 things. And I go, okay, I take that as an opportunity. Like, what can we work on in this class? Like, let's have some ideas. Because I don't want them to feel embarrassed when that happens.
Sure.
So
You had mystery trash. What the heck was that?
So mystery trash, this is gold.
Yeah, what's mystery trash?
all the STEM teachers out there know that the classroom in a STEM room is a mess by the end of the day. So I teach 6 classes in a row, then I get my break. So by that end, there's like 2-minute transition time in between classes. Very little time for me to clean up. So I tell the kids there are 1, 2, 3 pieces of mystery trash, and I eyeball them. So it might be a little ball of tape next to a chair. It might be a pencil on a table. It might be a pair of scissors over in the corner. And I'm eyeballing them, and I try to see who picks them up. But the kids are cleaning the room like crazy because they want to be the one who put away the mystery trash
And so that's a
or
little
the mystery item.
Strategically placed
Yep.
item.
So when they all come back, then they all start their I have a digital reflection that they do. And while they're doing that, usually the kids are saying, what was the mystery trash? And I'll announce all 3. And if you were the one, they raise their hand if they were the one, and they get to spin the wheel of mystery. So it just flows really well together.
And what do they do with their P-Bucks? They collect them and then they use them?
So I used to have physical Monopoly money.
Yeah.
All laminated. But I would have parents call me and be like, Johnny kept his P-Bucks in his pocket and I washed it and it got all, right? And they were nasty, especially.
Now it's digital currency.
Well, once
right?
COVID hit, I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
oh, because I had a mystery bag. So when they did something like on the wheel, if they landed on the mystery space, they reached in there. There was like one $500 bill and then like a bunch of 1s and 5s. But we transitioned to a digital bank account.
Yeah.
So now Class Dojo points
Okay.
are the Mr. P-Bucks.
So they're Mr.
Yeah.
P-Bucks.
Yep.
And then they get to cash those in.
Cash those
collect
in.
them.
So if they want to specifically, a big thing in the STEM world is the kids want to work with a specific friend or partner. And a lot of times in the beginning of the year, I do it random and I explain to them a big part of STEM isn't just the standards, but a big part of it is learning how to work as a team.
Yeah.
And the kids really need help in that area. And there's so many different personalities. So I like to do random in the beginning of the year so I can walk around and I don't even really care about the project. I'm listening for the words that they say to each other and how they're communicating. So when you do that with random personalities, that's a tough skill.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the year, we do random, and then towards the end of the year, they can cash in 10 Mr. P-Bucks to choose who they get to work with. Wow. So now they have a purpose for saving the money. And then at the end of the year, for anyone who uses Class Dojo out there, a big question I always had was, what do I do with the kids that saved up all these points and never spent any of the points?
What do you do?
So I do a silent auction. So a lot of times I'll bring in items from the classroom and they can drop in tickets in a brown paper bag. So for every dojo buck they have, they get a raffle ticket.
Okay.
And they can enter in this raffle. Or I've been using more recently, besides the paper tickets, I give them a number range because some of the classes have 1,000, 2,000 dojo bucks. So if you're player 1, and you have $50, you might get numbers 1 to 50. And then if somebody else has $5, they would get numbers 51 to 55,
Yep.
right? And then I use online, there's the random number wheel creator. And I click go and it reveals a 3-digit number, a 4-digit number. And if their number falls in that range, then they win.
They win.
Yep.
Cool. How long have you been teaching?
So this is I think it's my 19th year.
19th year.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
So what was it like when you first started? Because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about people that are watching that maybe are starting out, because it's like you've got such a great thing going here. Clearly, you ought to be writing a book.
Yeah.
You really ought to.
When Scott says to write a book.
You write a book, right, Oprah? But seriously, like I'm just imagining people listening and going, well, yeah, sure, but how? So tell me about when you were first starting out. Like, what certainly you've evolved over the years and you've now got something that really works. But like anything, in the beginning, it may have been a little clunky.
Yep.
Like, so
Yeah.
what got you here?
So in the beginning, actually, ironically, classroom management was my weak area. And I think, I was 20, 21 years old.
Young,
so
right.
right out of college, first year, I was teaching fifth graders, so they were 10. And I went in the mindset with, I wanted to have this much joy, and I wanted the kids to, like, the education was like here. And I realized, no, that's chaos, right?
Yeah.
So you got to find the balance, and that's where it works. Because if you go too less joy, the kids don't want to be there. It's not a fun environment. So if you find that balance between joy and education and the learning process, that's where it's at. Talk about clunky, any new curriculum. 19th year teaching, I have these systems in place, but the drone curriculum, I'm still evolving and adapting to it. So there's things I know I've showed you and I can share with everybody is my seventh graders, I've been using the curriculum. I've been trying to adapt the curriculum to fill a semester.
Yeah.
So to do that is a little tricky, especially because my seventh grade classes are the largest classes, with some of them reaching almost 30 students.
Wow. Yeah.
So to have that many drones, especially new pilots, crashing at once, I said, this isn't going to work.
And to be clear, we're not doing 30 drones.
Right,
We're
not
doing
30 drones, five
right?
drones,
But
right.
still, 5 in
Yep.
this room. That's still a lot of things moving around. A
Yes.
lot of kids moving around.
And a lot of rookie
yeah.
operators. not telling people to watch out for their hair and move aside. So right away, I knew that.
Good afternoon, HMS. Tomorrow is the last day student council will be collecting money for our volleyball bracket fundraiser. As of this afternoon, we have raised a total of $1,039.50.
$1,039. Nice.
After today's money collection, we wanted to let you know the current standings for each grade level.
Uh-oh. Is this going to be a bit?
Maybe.
Sixth grade, the tutorial with the most money raised so far is
All right.
the Tulio
chop it.
Major team with $146.
Oh, yeah, they're going to go through each grade?
There's only 3 at least.
Oh, okay.
In seventh grade, the tutorial with the most money currently raised by Peterson Vendor team with $68.
I can get that thing.
In eighth grade, the tutorial with the most money raised so far is the Thomas Scott team with $121.
Wow. Nice.
All of these standings can change after tomorrow's collection.
That sounded very
Have a great day, HMS.
AI.
Only 2 more weeks until volleyball.
Oh, turn it. All right.
Okay.
So where were we?
So talking
move
about
the chair.
adapting and trying to figure out the drone legends as a semester long for 7th graders, I was having all the drones going at once, and it was too difficult to do that all at once.
Yeah.
So what I decided was learning stations would be best. So I would have a third of the class on the drones, a third of the class doing Egypt expedition,
That's right.
and a third of the class I needed a new section. So I kind of went online and I was looking around, reading drone articles and things like that, trying to think like, what could I make this third station? And I really wanted to actually do something with the engineering design process, where I think that's going to be my future goal, future vision of this, where instead of building with the sticks, they're actually taking cardboard and they're building
Creating
the
their own
mountain
structures.
and the
Yeah.
craters and the structures. I'm not there yet, but what I did realize was I was finding a lot of articles about ethical uses of drones.
There you go.
And so using ChatGTP, I helped it create, I gave it the mission and I asked it to help me create an ethical scenario.
Awesome.
So I have an ethical scenario for each mission, and that's here. And then it aligns with the mission in the book.
That's great.
So after that, the kids have to have a group discussion about what they think, if it's a good thing or a bad thing, or what their overall idea is, and then they do a little write-up for me
Oh, nice.
on the back here.
That's cool.
So to keep track of my
amazing.
groupings,
Yeah.
I do, when I first group the students for like mission 1, they get their teammates, And then they have their 3 stations, which they'll rotate around.
rotate through those
Yep.
stations.
So this will take three days usually. So they get a full day with the
that's
drones,
nice.
full day with Egypt,
With the Egypt
and a full day with the
expedition.
scenario,
Right.
and then they all shift.
And the Egypt expedition is the simulator coding, and then you've got the ethical
Yep.
component.
And then to another fun thing, if you're not aware, is before I do the ethical coding and ethical drone usage, Class Dojo collaborated with a school called Astronova, and they created these awesome short 30-second videos called conundrums, and they're animated. And they really create great conversations with the students. So before we do a new ethical scenario, we practice our conversations with these conundrums. So for instance, one is there is a researcher spends her whole life researching because she heard that there's this treasure map. Spends her whole life, she finds the treasure map. The only problem is she can't decode it. So she finds a decoder, the only guy on the planet that can decode this treasure map.
Right.
So he spends weeks and he decodes it. So now they know where the treasure is, but they realize it's a very dangerous mission. So they need to find a treasure hunter. So they find this girl, she's an amazing treasure hunter, she's willing to risk her life to get this treasure. So she goes through and dodges all these things through the jungle, she gets the treasure. Now here's the conundrum.
Whose treasure is it?
Whose treasure is it? And you can only give it to one person, or the majority can only have one thing. So you can do different levels. So I usually start with, who should get the treasure? And of course, most of the time the kids say, well, you split it. And I go, what if you can't split it? What if only one person could have it?
Right.
And now that starts a really good conversation. And then that's my lesson on kind of a sample of that's how I want you to have these conversations with the scenario.
Okay.
So have these debates back and forth and tell your reasons why. Because something like that, you just can't say, well, the treasure hunter should get it. Someone's going to ask you, well, why?
Why? Right.
Right? But if you
And there's
just...
justification for each.
Exactly.
The first person spent her life,
Yeah.
if not for her,
Right.
the hunter wouldn't have been invited in, nor would have, but the decoder, so it took, without any one of those 3 that doesn't work.
Right.
You
exactly.
remove one person from that scenario, the whole thing, none of them have the treasure.
And the key is why. Students don't really say that word when they're
Right.
in a team.
Right.
Especially at middle school.
Interesting.
If someone shares something, I want the kids to get in the habit of saying, well, why do you think that? And that's where the conversation starts. But we got to get them to say why.
And that's Class Dojo that has that?
Class Dojo, it is found through Class Dojo's website. I think
And
Class
they're
Dojo
called-
and Astronova collaborated,
They're called
if I'm
conundrums?
correct. Yeah.
Little conundrums?
Yep. It says by Astronova School.
Great.
Yep.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Wow. So, okay. So now a lot going on here. New teachers, somebody entering in. I think you're probably very inspirational because I think the model of what a teacher should be has some thought to it. You have a whole different kind of vibe going on here. And I mean, with your magic and the experiential and the wheel, your kids must love coming in here. I mean, I can only imagine that this is like their favorite class to come to.
That's what I try.
They probably dread leaving it and going off to the other classes, right?
I got to kick them out.
Right, you got to kick them out. Right, pick up the mystery trash.
Yeah.
So when you're talking when you think about a new teacher coming in, and you think about yourself 19 years ago, what advice would you give for kind of short-term success expectations? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it's scary as a new teacher because my brain keeps saying, just take risks. But I remember the one piece of advice that I got from one of my professors in college was subscribe to every education email you can find. And every day I'm reading something about new education. My current one is, I don't want to butcher his name, Peps McCreer.
Okay.
Something along there, PEPS. And I love his email because it's short.
Is it a
number
newsletter?
one? It's
Is
a
it like
newsletter
so it's
email.
a really short,
Yep.
daily or like weekly or?
I think it's about weekly,
Yeah.
but it's short. Key number one.
Yeah, right.
2, it's research backed. Love that.
Okay.
Because I want to do things in this classroom. The risks I'm taking are calculated in that they've been proven in other areas, right?
Yeah, okay.
So all of his stuff is research based. But one of my favorite things is besides the little, I think he calls them snacks, little snack, is underneath there's usually 3 like research based scientific journals, like articles of like deep studies. So if you want to read more, there's 100 pages of scientific studies. And it's really good. So I highly recommend that. But yeah, I think if I could go back in time, I would continue subscribing and reading as much as possible. I remember one of my favorite books was Harry Wong, First Days of School.
Yeah.
And I remember every year for the first 10 years,
You read it.
I read it in August.
And
that was my August read. And I think
that's
that
come
really
up-
helped.
That's come up a lot.
Yep,
So
Harry
Harry
Wong.
Wong's First Day of School,
Teach Like a Champion.
Teach Like a
It's
Champion.
another fantastic one. One of the Teach Like a Champions, my favorite technique from there that I think has been the most impactful in my teaching is no opt-out. So you pose a question, you give the wait time, and then when you call on a student, a lot of times you'll either get an answer or they'll stare at you or they'll say, I don't know, right? So if they don't give the answer, you either can do a follow-up question, or a lot of times students are used to, oh, I don't know it, I'm out,
Right.
right? Well, my students know if they don't know the answer and I'm calling someone else, I'm coming back to them and they know it. So that's the no opt-out, meaning, no, you don't get to choose not to answer this. I'm coming back to you, so you better listen
Take some time
to these other
hear
responses.
this and formulate your response.
So if the next student knows what it is, then I come back to them and I go, how would you say that in your own words? So they know if they're getting called on, they got to
No opt-out.
No opt-out. That's my
like it.
favorite technique, I think, that I use more than anything else from that book. But yeah, so I would say take risks, do as much reading as possible, ask for help. I think if your school district allows you, ask them to go, if you're able to go watch other teachers in the building.
That's right.
We had a little bit of conversation like that. I would love to eventually build a library of video clips of just really quick, amazing teaching techniques, kind of like Teach Like a Champion did with their book. But and actually Peps came out with a documentary that I'm about to dive into. It's a 4-hour documentary. And they are, I believe they're in Europe. And they are recording teachers teach, and then you get to watch their interview afterwards about the techniques that they used.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where do you see education going? Like, where's it all headed?
I
Right?
think
It's a
education,
really interesting time right now. New administration in, Department of Education being kind of Linda McMahon up there talking. Where do you see everything going?
right, I think AI is going to be impacting everything massively. And I'm hoping that, I think we need innovation and we need to shake things up and change how we do things, and that's okay. Like Sir Ken Robinson wrote a book, and if you ever saw his YouTube clips even, but he talks about how the current education system is, we're like a factory model.
Yeah.
And we need to shake things up a little bit and kind of move away from that and really lend ourselves to what the kids are passionate about and leverage that.
So really, really focusing on teach the student.
Teach the student.
Teach like individuality, but giving them so I think a lot of what you do in here gives students the opportunity to kind of be themselves, showcase their individuality, while still you're maintaining that classroom management. They've got aligned to standards and things like this for what you do.
Yes.
But it seems like you give them a lot of freedom
We need
to explore.
student choice
Yeah.
and student agency is huge. But it all goes back to classroom management,
Yeah.
right? So if student choice and agency is very difficult, if the classroom's chaotic. So if you have systems in place like Dojo, like the Wheel, and you build those relationships with the students, then student choice and agency doesn't become chaotic, but actually strengthens the learning environment.
Cool. Let's take us out on a high note. So I know AI, what are you optimistic about? Like what gets you excited about the next 10 years of education? or even the next 5? Like, what are we looking at?
Okay, so I would say, going back to AI, I think once teachers really learn how to leverage it and use it, and students learn how to use it and leverage it the correct way, just like when the internet first came out.
Yeah.
So the better that we got at it, I feel like the more advanced we can become. And I feel like there's so much more, and lessons can be so much more powerful. Students all pretty much can have a one-on-one tutor now.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? That means that we have to train students. If we can get the students to understand and want to succeed, we have to almost formulate that drive. Like, how do we motivate the students? Like, you have these resources.
Do you get into AI here? Do you talk about it at all?
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
my 8th grade curriculum, we build AI apps.
You do?
So we collect, right now we're creating surveys, and the 8th graders are giving their survey to collect data on a topic that they want to solve. One of my favorite apps right now is called the New Student Friend Finder. So if you're a new student and you come to school and you don't know anybody, you can use this app, answer some questions about your personality, and it will pair you up with a friend in the school that has similar interests as you. And that uses data that we put into AI Lab from code.org.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, listen.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been a pleasure.
Yes.
I always love coming over here. This is fun. We'll do more of this. I want to talk to you about some of these videos.
Yep.
I think there's an opportunity there, and I love what you've done with our curriculum. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. There you go. There's Eddie. Everybody, take care. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Shine like a ray